Hi everybody, so today we're going to do a little video. I'm just covering the most basics of ME. If you're new to this channel or new to my page or you're new to the disease and you come across this, ME stands for myalgic encephalomyelitis. It's a disease that I've struggled with for going on 3 years now. ME is thought to be a multi-systemic disease. It affects all parts of your body, but the most reoccurring thing that we're seeing in the little bit of research that's being done right now is an issue with the mitochondria of people with ME. Where if we take a little dive back into middle school science, we remember that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, right? So this is where all your energy comes from to be able to do anything, move your hands, think, take in information. I mean, you need energy for every single one of these things. Breathing, I mean, just the most basic things. Your mitochondria is powering that. And with this disease, we continue to see that there's something wrong with our mitochondria. There's so many different studies that are replicating that there is an issue there, but we can't pinpoint an exact problem yet. At least not that I've seen where we can replicate it over and over and over again. We're just seeing that this is the reoccurring issue that keeps coming up. People with ME are on different severity scales. So this severity scale goes from mild all the way to extremely severe. Today I'm going to be using a little chart that I actually found posted from Whitney Defoe, and our friend Whitney Defoe. We love you, Whitney. But he posted in Reddit about a year ago, and it's the scale that I like the most because it feels like it goes into depth much more than any other scale I've ever come across. So our first level of this illness, as you can assume, is mild end of ME, and I want to talk about that even the most mild forms of this disease are completely debilitating. I would consider myself on the between moderate and mild, much more closer to mild end of this disease right now, and I'm still nowhere near the person that was before this illness. So people that are mild, this is where you see symptoms affecting your quality of life. You're able to do things like be mobile, perform self-care activities independently. So brushing your teeth, doing the dishes, taking your own shower, stuff like that. This says hold a full-time job. I'm not really sure if I agree with that because I definitely can't hold a full-time job, and there's not many people in this community that I know that can hold a full-time job, maybe 20 hours, 25, but we're pushing it. And maybe people that work outside of that are able to do much more remote positions. But working a full-time job seems a bit absurd to me. This says most people that are mild are able to participate in social and family activities and engage in most activities in general. They may or may not be able to do intense cardiovascular exercise due to PEM or PEM, which is post-exertional malaise, which is the key factor to this disease. This is what differentiates it from any other disease. Is we see people that, let's say I go run a game of 3v3, and within 24 to 72 hours, I am going to get PEM. That's the repercussion of this disease. You get this extremely, extremely, extremely ill feeling. Me personally, I have tremors, severe sensitivity to light, severe sensitivity to sound. The left side of my body, how I know I'm going into this, gets extremely weak. My already pretty bad limp that I walk with gets 30 times worse. So that's what we see with PEM. Most people that are mild are not able to be active all day, every day. I would say that's 100% the truth. I can be pretty active throughout the day, a million times more than I was just a year ago. But all day is crazy. I can be on my feet for like an hour and a half right now. I can do like very cognitive straining things for a couple hours. But after that, I poop out pretty fast and have to take some rest periods. So then we move up to the moderate end of the scale, which most people that are moderate, they're considered to have reduced mobility, limited activities, and need frequent rest periods. That's why I say I'm in that little mid area between moderate and mild, because I still need frequent rest periods, a lot of rest. You guys get to see me do cool stuff on my main page, go on vacations and go to the zoo or whatever it may be, but what you're not seeing is all the time I spend on the recliner or on the couch or in the bed, just really trying to rest. Most people that are moderate are able to be mobile and perform self-care activities independently, engage in activities that don't involve moderate cardiovascular exercise. So that's another part where I say I'm closer to mild, because I can engage in activities that involve moderate cardiovascular exercise. Going on walks, walking at the zoo for an hour and a half, walking a little trail for half a mile or so, things like that, I am able to do. So that's where I would say I'm in between. People that are moderate may or may not be able to hold a part-time job or study part-time, and they're not able to hold a full-time job or study full-time. It's kind of contradicting, may or may not, I guess, for the keywords there. But then we move on to the severe end of the scale. Severe people on the scale are mostly housebound, limited to minimal activities of daily living. Examples: face washing, showering, brushing your teeth, things like that. That's what you're able to do in a day, and that's it. It says people that are severe are able to be mobile and perform most self-care activities independently and do minimal activities of daily living and basic chores. They're not able to hold a job or study or engage in any cardiovascular activity. So then we move to the very severe end of the scale, which is mostly bedridden, able to do very minimal activities of daily living, which is taking care of themselves, use the bathroom, wash, and they're able to speak or write. They're not able to leave the house or do basic chores. So this is where we start to see housebound individuals, mostly completely housebound. The severe is mostly housebound. So if you're severe, you're only really leaving the house for emergencies, the hospital, or to get your teeth looked at after a year and a half or whatever it may be. It's kind of extreme to get out the house. And then after very severe, we go into extremely severe. And I really like this scale because it goes into extremely severe, because when I first got sick, I could never find anything that matched where I was at. I kept reading these severity scales and I was like, maybe this isn't what I have, because I don't fit in one or the other. And I really like this because it breaks it down for us real nice. So this goes, the extremely severe scale goes from A to E. So extremely severe level A is completely bedridden. The possible exception is using the restroom. People that are extremely severe A may be able to do some or all of these things, which is sit up for extended periods, work on crafts or projects independently, communicate via text, computer, social media, watch TV, listen to music, tolerate human presence, pantomime and get spoken response, listen to speech, and read some. Extremely severe A, most people are not able to speak or write or process much input. Example: colors, symbols, labels, sound. So that's that stimulus that I'm always talking about. So then we move on to extremely severe B. Completely bedridden, possible exception, bathroom. Able to do all or some, sit up for longer periods, work on crafts or projects for short periods, scroll on phone or computer, watch short videos and listen to music, tolerate human presence for longer periods, pantomime, listen to speech, read a little. Not able to speak or write, text or type, process much input. Extremely severe C is completely bedridden, able to move in the bed throughout the day, may or may not be able to sit up for short periods, tolerate human presence for brief periods, or pantomime and interrupt pantomime, or interpret pantomime. People in the extremely severe C level are not able to work on crafts or projects independently, communicate on phone, computer, social media, touch any keys on electronics, text, type, or speak or write, listen to speech or read, or process input. Lastly, or no, we have two more levels. So we have extremely severe level D, which is completely bedridden, must hold completely still for parts or all of the day, or risk a relapse. You may be able to do basic things like use a urinal or scratch an itch. That's about the only activity you're going to get out of people that are extremely severe D. Not able to move muscle for parts or all of the day, engage in any activity or work while in bed, can't tolerate human presence, can't use any electronics, can't speak, write, pantomime, or communicate in any way, can't listen to speech, read, or interpret pantomime, and can't process any input, color, symbols, labels, sounds. And then lastly, we have extremely severe level E, completely bedridden, unable to use the restroom, unable to get out of bed, not able to go to the bathroom, unable to move on their own. Any attempt may result in a crash. Perform any task independently, tolerate any human presence as it leads to a crash, speak, pantomime, write, or communicate in any way, unable to listen to speech, read, or interpret, and unable to process any input, those color, symbols, lights, sounds. So when I was at the worst of my worst, I was extremely severe E. I could not get out of bed to go to the bathroom. I laid in the same position for 24 hours straight. It actually got so bad, if you know me from before this illness, you know that I had a mean Motley Crue cut. My hair was down to my ass. And when I got sick and I became extremely severe, my head sat in the same place for months. And so bad that the moment that I discovered Ativan and was able to withstand any kind of stimulus, I had to shave my head, like within a few minutes, because my head was just a complete matted mess. I had, I would say I was between D and E, the extremely severe D and E, because I was able to occasionally, every like 2 weeks, I would be able to move from the bed to a bedside commode to use the restroom. But besides that, there was nothing else going on. I couldn't perform any task independently. I went the longest without even having my teeth brushed. Went the longest without having my teeth brushed because I couldn't even stand the stimulus from it. It was overstimulating. It made me sicker. People question like, oh, how could you not stand somebody else brushing your teeth? But the whole thing with this disease, one of the biggest things is the stimulus and how horrid it is. When you're very severe, the smallest things. I remember could faintly hear a child yell outside, just playing outside, and that felt like somebody was taking nails to a chalkboard. I remember when the train would come by my house, it was like a mile away, but I could hear that, and I literally would I remember nights like just wanting to scream because it just makes everything 10 times worse. It would make my heart rate go insane. It would make me severely nauseous immediately. It would make my tremors worse. I mean, just everything, just sound made things 10 times worse. Extremely severe E, can't tolerate any human presence as it leads to a crash. I didn't think that was possible. I thought that was, when I first started learning about this disease, I was like, yeah, right. And then I experienced it. We would have home health nurses come and try and see me, and I literally could not. I had to have eye masks and, big shooting headphones on nonstop with, and I also had the orange earpieces in that you see like construction workers use, on top of the shooting headphones, the eye masks, blackout curtains. I wasn't able to communicate with the nurses. They just come in and do whatever they needed to do and leave. And even just that little bit of, them having to draw blood or do my blood pressure or whatever it was enough to make me relapse. Like, it made my symptoms 10 times worse for days at a time. And then I would get like a little bit of a break. And then it felt like it was always something else, like, another doctor coming or whatever it was. Says that can't speak, pantomime, write, or communicate in any way. For many months, that's how it was. There was no communication. It was just me here, and even at that, I try to keep my thoughts minimal because just your own thoughts can be overstimulating, which sounds crazy. But if I thought too much, or if I thought about things that excited me, sports, sexual things, movies, anything that causes you to feel even the slightest bit excitement, it would cause me to relapse. It would cause me a crash really, really bad. For a couple months, like leading into the extremely severe E, I was able to, use my phone, like I said earlier on in the video, and, text little messages to my girlfriend or whatnot. But there was a pretty decent amount of time where that was unavailable. I couldn't listen to speech. I couldn't read. Yeah. So I don't know. This illness is so unique, and not in a good way, that we have 8, 9 different levels of severity, and that's, I think, in large part why so much of this disease is just not given a fuck about, because people think that the great majority are in this moderate and mild range, which is horrid in itself, and it's insane that we get played off just for that. But it's estimated that 25% of people are severe, that 25% of people who have this disease are severe or housebound, which is crazy. There aren't a whole lot of diseases that make you housebound and this ill that don't kill you, which you can die from this. I'm not saying it can't kill you, but what I'm saying is it's technically not considered terminal. And that's kind of like the worst part about it, because when I was in some of these stages, I just begged. I begged for it to be my last day. Like, please just make this shit stop. And it's horrific, and we need to talk about it. And so I figured we'd start with just some pretty basic things here, and go from there. So yeah, thanks for listening.